When companies in the same industry propose merging with one another, they often claim that the merger will benefit consumers by increasing efficiency and therefore lowering prices. Economist Ying Fan investigated this notion in the context of the United States newspaper market. She modeled a hypothetical merger of Minneapolis-area newspapers and found that subscription prices would rise following a merger. Economists Dario Focarelli and Fabio Panetta have argued that research on the effect of mergers on prices has focused excessively on short-term effects, which tend to be adverse for consumers. Using the case of consumer banking in Italy, they show that over the long term, several years in their study, the efficiency gains realized by merged companies do result in economic benefits for consumers. Based on the texts, how would Focarelli and Panetta, text 2, most likely respond to Fan's findings, text 1? A. They would recommend that Fan compared the near-term effect of a merger on subscription prices in the Minneapolis area with the effect of a merger in another newspaper market. B. They would argue that over the long term, the expenses incurred by the merged newspaper company will also increase. C. They would encourage Fan to investigate whether the projected effect on subscription prices persists over an extended period. D. They would claim that mergers have a different effect on consumer prices in the newspaper industry than in most other industries.
So in question number 9, we have two texts. So in the first text, we are talking about Ying Fan. She has observed regarding a merger. Her experiment was a hypothetical merger of Minneapolis-area newspapers. She found that the subscription prices rise following a merger. Whereas in text 2, we are talking about economists Dario Focarelli and Fabio Panetta. They argued that the research on the effect of mergers, they usually check only the short-term effects. That usually is adverse for consumers. But then they have taken a case of consumer banking in Italy, and they show that over a long term, that is several years, the efficiency gains realized by merged companies do result in economic benefits for consumers. So they are talking about long-term benefits. So in the question, we have to see how would Focarella and Panetta likely respond to Fan's findings. Which one should we choose? So if you said C, well done, that is the correct answer. Choice C is the best answer because based on the information presented in the text, it represents how Focarelli and Panetta would most likely respond to Fan's findings. Text 1 indicates that Fan found that the newspaper merger would result in a rise in subscription prices. This rise wouldn't benefit consumers, who would have to pay more for news after a merger. Whereas text 2 presents Focarelli and Panetta's argument that merger research tends to focus too much on what happens immediately after the merger. So text 2 goes on to describe their finding that mergers can be economically beneficial for consumers over a long term. So this suggests that Focarelli and Panetta would encourage Fan to investigate the long-term effect of hypothetical newspaper merger on subscription fees. So they will encourage Fan to investigate whether the projected effect on subscription prices persists over an extended period. So she has to check for a few more years and check if it benefited the consumer or not.
Choice A is incorrect because text 2 doesn't indicate that Focarelli and Panetta connect the effects of mergers to specific locations. Instead, Focarelli and Panetta focus on the length of time over which the effects of mergers should be evaluated. Choice B is incorrect because text 2 indicates that Focarelli and Panetta found that merged companies experience efficiency gains over the long term, meaning that their expenses go down relative to their output, not that their expenses increase. Choice D is incorrect because there's no indication in text 2 that Focarelli and Panetta believe that the newspaper industry is different from any other industry when it comes to the effects of mergers. Although their own research was about consumer banking, text 2 suggests that they view their conclusions as applicable to mergers in general.